Yeah, Ron, this live will be up after too. I don't use the Strat, but this is just actionable setups with myself. They call me Strat. All right. Good evening, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well this evening. Sorry about the tardiness. I was taking care of some things here. As always, these classes are recorded. This class tonight is going to be actionable setups with myself, how to trade them, how to find them. That's kind of the crux of the class. And so at any point in time, if you guys have questions, let me know. Ideally, the way I'd like to do this is kind of go over a few setups that I liked, talk about why they were actionable, what I was looking at with them, how you could have traded them, and then look at some setups that are setting themselves up for potential plays that we could take as actionable setups. And then at the end, give you guys a few minutes to give me your actionable setups and why they're actionable, and then have real-time feedback for me as to if they truly are actionable or not in my eyes. All right, so first things first, Southwest Airlines, love. This is one that we talked about a lot when we were consolidating on this daily time frame. A lot of you guys know, like there were specific targets that I had too on love that I was looking at here. You know, we talked about the 3250 spot, then we talked about the 3450 spot, then we talked about 3701, and then we talked about 3975. Now, the reason that this is an actionable setup for me was because if you look at JetBlue was consolidating, right? So at the same time that we were looking at all these other names, JetBlue was consolidating here in this, in this horizontal consolidation pattern, basically all the way out until the month of, the month of June 6th, when we broke out. We saw this breakout here on JetBlue. So I knew that airlines were coiled, even if it's not coiled in a wedge like Southwest was. It could be horizontally coiled for a move out of this pattern, right? So JetBlue was one. Jets was another one. The ETF Jets, we talked about this one a lot too. It's the U.S. Global Jets ETF, which means that this is made up of a lot of the airlines. So we knew, right, that by looking at this ETF, that if one of these, if the ETF popped, that all of these are probably going to go, because this ETF is made up of all of those airline stocks. And as you can see, Jets kind of did that thing. I should have a horizontal line here. You guys that know me know that I like to do my my key levels off of the candle bodies. So here on this daily candle, make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. I put that line right here at the candle body, and then you can see, like, this is where I would have put it to begin with, and then you can see how it reacted when price got up there, right? Got up over that 2105, came back down and retested it, and then we pushed up higher. Okay, so the thesis here was that I knew that Jets was consolidating. Jets was, consolidating in a big way, and we were going to see a move up out of this. Now, even if I just look over here, I can see another consolidation pattern historically that could have been an actionable setup on Jets as well, right? Another horizontal pattern, basically, stuck between $18 and $18.84. A little bit of a false breakout. Looks like we opened up here, and then we fell back down into the consolidation pattern. But we dropped all the way from $18 down here to $16.60. So a nice $1.40 move to the downside there. It looks like this name is really good at trading horizontally for a while and then making a big move, right? Trading horizontal, breaking down, trading horizontal, breaking up, okay? So all that to say that there were a lot of names that were setting up in the month of June. You guys remember this from the Sunday scan when we talked about actionable setups. We talked about this, this being something that was actionable. The airlines were actionable long setups, assuming that Jets broke out, because we had JetBlue consolidating. We have Southwest, LUV consolidating on the daily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 daily candles rejected off this trend line. And then we started to hold value here, and we started to, really, really consolidate. And then, obviously we've exploded up since then. We've had 3 days that are red since we broke out of this on June 9th. We've had 3 red trading days. Every other day has been green on Southwest. Another name that we talked about as being actionable, and by the way, I'm going to talk about actionable setups here with all of the airlines because I want you guys to see how all of these played out on larger time frames. And then in a little bit, we're going to talk about how to trade these larger time frames. But I just want you guys to get accustomed to kind of seeing these things. That way you can see these things in real time when you're looking for scans, that to basically to find in the market, right? So here's another view on Delta. And we've looked at this one a while. We've looked at this in the past. And again, just off the bat, I can see here historically, right? Like I can see some horizontal consolidation. Right? Horizontal consolidation. We open up on this day, March 13th, below our consolidation pattern, and then we have a 4% down day. We went down 1.5% that day on Delta. The very next day, we went from 36.49 to a low of 35.10. The very next day, we gapped all the way down to a low of 32.58. So massive move there, a $4 move in 3 days once we fell out of this consolidation pattern. But again, just wanted to show you guys consolidation and really price consolidation leads to range expansion. And that's what we're seeing here, right? Consolidate in the price and then expand with the range. Okay. Now, same thing's happening over here on Delta leading up to the month of June, right? And that's why the month of June was a huge name for airlines for me personally. That's what I was watching and that's what we talked about. And you can see why, right? This is a key daily spot, 37.09. I said that if we get up over this 37.09, I'd be looking for the first target up to be 39.81. If we get over 39.81, I'd be looking for that next target up to be 48.31. And that's exactly what we did, right? We broke up over here, went to the next level, and then went to the very next level. We consolidated here, and I'm just wondering, I'm thinking out loud now, but if I put a level here, 42 to 43, somewhere in there, I wonder if we go back historically, if we see some type of price at that level. Yeah, so not really, right? Not really, but this was an interesting spot because we did start to consolidate here a little bit. Actually, you probably could put it right here. Last time we were at this level, right? A rejection at this level on the daily time frame, this 42.23. If we go here, we pushed up to it on the June 14th candle, got up over it on the June 15th candle, and then held it every single candle after that, right? So prior resistance, break out over it, now flip it to support, and then push off from there, right? So it does look like the airlines are starting to stall out a little bit at these levels, and I think some people in the room asked about Delta, if they were in Delta, what would they be looking at? This is, kind of where I'd be looking to potentially take my foot off the gas if I was long. Understand that the month of June, if we look at the monthly candle, right, look at this monthly candle. We had a 30% move, 31% move, and you can see on the monthly why this is a key spot, right, 48.31. We're already rejecting that spot. We rejected it multiple times in the past. We held it as support in the past, right? We held, broke down through, tried to retest it, failed it, tried to retest it, failed it, got over it, held it, failed it, failed it, failed it, failed it, failing it again so far in this month. So risk to reward says this is probably where you might want to look to get short here at these levels to short it right back down to 42, 43, 42.23. But I just wanted to show you guys that on the daily time frame. We talked about all of these setups. They were starting to coil, right? We're moving from 33.16 up to 36.03. Then we're down to 34.91. Then we're up to 30. So basically, we're putting in higher highs and higher lows here in this relatively short pattern here, and we had horizontal resistance when we broke out. We saw that big move to 39.81, and then the rest is history there. But there were other names that did the exact same thing. If we look at UAL, United Airlines, right? Same thing here on United. We had this trend line, and then you see what happened in June when we got up over this spot. If I make this, when we got up over this spot in June, right? We got up over, we held it 1, 2, 3 days in a row, and then just straight rippage basically all the way up here, right? And I don't have any levels up here on UAL. If we look at the weekly time frame, right? We can see that if we do want to pop, this is probably going to be that next level that we go to, 59.28 from here. But again, risk to reward, we got a big wick here on the weekly, starting to sell a little bit here on this week, so we'll see what happens with the airlines. But the month of June, airlines were the move. American Airlines was another one, right? And same thing. Here's June. Once we got over this purple line, this 1508 that we had rejected, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, got over on that 6th candle, came back down and retested it, and then we just pushed all the way from there. So these were great for like swinging in the month of June, right? Swinging monthly contracts, bi-monthly contracts, whatever it was that you wanted to swing. But I just want to talk about actionable setups, how they work, what they look like. And for me, the actionable setups are really on these daily time frame setups. Mara is a perfect actionable setup here on the daily. At the end of June, you guys know what happened to Bitcoin. We broke out in a massive way. I know I've got a lot of levels on here, so bear with me. Actually, let's take these levels out. We can always put new levels back in. Let's make it a little bit cleaner for you guys to see. But on the daily, right, you can see how this looked. We just consolidated on this daily time frame and coiled and coiled and coiled and coiled. And then we broke out in a massive way, going all the way from $10 to about $16, so a 60% move in just over 10 days. It was an unreal move on Mara. Same thing happened here. I mean, we could even argue, right, that this is a potential consolidation pattern within this box, right? And when we broke out of this box, what happened? We broke out and we went all the way to almost $13 from $9, which is a massive move, right? That's like a 40% move on the stock right there. So these are actionable setups. This is what in my strategy, what I'm looking for all the time. I'm looking for price consolidation leading to range expansion. So Mara was a great one to look at. Bitcoin is another great one that we can look at. And then soon after this, after I show you guys some of these, I want to show you how we can actually trade these from an actionable setup perspective. Okay, so Bitcoin, here's the weekly chart on Bitcoin. I just hammered on that trend line, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 rejections on that trend line, and then we finally broke out in a massive way. And look right where we went to, right? We went right to this 30,500 level. The level that I had identified, we've rejected this level since we came down below it. We broke down underneath of it on the May 14th of 2022, that week. Then we rejected it on the next 4 weeks before we dumped all the way down to a low there of about 17.6. Came back up. We tried to grab our 25,000 level, rejected that, came all the way back down, and then we tagged this level down here at 15,767. And then from there, where did we go to, right? I selfishly wanted to buy Bitcoin around 10 to 5K a coin. Instead, I didn't. I let it sit there, and we pushed back up to 25K. We rejected 25K, came back down here. And then on this very next weekly candle, pushed all the way through 25K and then fell into this consolidation pattern all the way back down here because, as you guys know, prior resistance, right? Resistance, break through it, come down here, we catch it as support, and then we push higher, right? Clear as day, prior support becoming, or prior resistance becoming support now. So, these are the actionable setups, and the most recent one that we took, the last two I'll talk about, CRM. Let's talk about CRM here, right? CRM on the daily time frame. This one actually still looks really good. We'll have to see what the broader market does with tech, but you guys can see here, right? It's very similar to what we saw with Mara from a consolidation pattern, right? From that wedge pattern. Wedge pattern, consolidate. On this candle here, we caught this move for over, I think it was 80% on CRM yesterday. But we'll talk about this one. This will be a good one, a good case study that we talk about how we actually caught that move and what that looks like. But CRM is another good one, guys, that again, if you look at how it's traded in the past, we kind of traded from this 200 to 190 level, right? You can see the consolidation pattern here. Finally break out, come back, retest it, and then we pop all the way to 225. But price consolidation leads to range expansion. Moral of the story. Now today, the one that we took, Adobe. Daily setup. Doesn't look like much of a chart, right? This chart looks it actually looks like the daily might be intact here if we can hold this spot. 480 is going to be the big spot, but let's look at the 5 minute. Let's turn on extended, and let me show you guys what I saw on Adobe and how these contracts went about 50% for us today at open. Now, the 5-minute chart looks like this is just a big consolidation pattern, right? Because it looks like we're trading sideways. But imagine that we didn't have all this here, because what we did was, here's that trend line, right? So here's that big trend line that we saw. And then here is the 480 level. Let's put this here, 480, right? So what happened? Well, we tried to push up and we rejected that trend line. So we opened up right about here. We pushed up. We pulled back down, so we rejected that trend line. So I was immediately thinking, okay, this could be an opportunity for us because we're rejecting the trend line, right? We're rejecting that daily trend line that we looked at here, just to remind you guys. Okay, because I knew going into the day today, I was like 480 is going to be that spot. If we lose 480, this could be a really nice move down to about 472. That's what I was looking for, right? 472 is going to be my target. We ended up falling all the way to 475 even as the low today, which was good enough for us to take this trade and, you know, do really, really well in the trade. But I want to walk you guys through the 5-minute of how I saw this. And so you see the daily time frame, but how do we trade the 5-minute, right? And this is how we do it. This is how I did it this morning. Here's that trend line, right? Here's that daily trend line, and I'll color this a different color so you guys can see this daily trend line. So it's purple. Here is that daily trend line. We're on the 5-minute. We rejected the trend line, and we rejected 480, right? So we rejected 480, we pulled back down, we came back up, and we tapped 480 once, twice. Very next candle, we pushed down, tried to push up again, pushed down, and then eventually we fell down to low of day as the markets pulled off, right? And we fell all the way down to 475, and these things went about 45-50% here. We were in the I think we took 475. What did we take? Let's see. Yeah, 475 puts. We were in those at $250 a contract, and they saw about $340 a contract. I think is what they saw. $355 a contract, sorry. So it was about a 50% gain is what we saw on these. Massive move. But this is how you can trade a 5-minute chart by looking at the daily time frame. And so all we were looking for was just price. We knew that there was price consolidation, and all we wanted to do was take advantage of the range expansion that we would see on that, right? So if we lose this daily trend line that we had tapped 1, 2, 3 times, we probably were going to see a pretty big move out. Now, if we lose 480 again, this could set up the potential to be a pretty, you know, nice monthly swing if you take monthly contracts and trade this thing back down into the, you know, 450s, 460 area from 480. Now we can talk about that in a little bit, and I can go over some questions of how we might look at that and what that might look like from a, you know, option strike perspective and things like that from a swing. But that's really an actual setup for me. I mean, those of you that are in Moneyline, and I think everyone on this is, because I didn't share this publicly with everyone, or I guess I did share in public chat, but those of you that are in Moneyline, you know that this is how I like to trade. I like to look at these daily time frames. I like to see the daily time frame. I like to see consolidation on the daily, and hopefully, you know, that leads to range expansion on the you know, on the same time frame, the daily time frame, and you can take advantage of that within a 5-minute candle. So now let's look at CRM real quick, and then I want to show you some things that are setting up in the market that I really do like in the coming days, weeks, that type of thing. All right, so let's look at the 5-minute on CRM. Here we go. Okay. So actually, let me go back out. Let me color this a different color so we know what lines are the trend lines. We're going to do these purple. Our daily lines are always going to be purple, or our technical patterns, I'll always make them purple. And then support and resistance will always be white, or it'll be, for some reason that's yellow. We'll change it back white though. Okay, so here's CRM on the 5-minute. Let's talk about how we traded this yesterday. Okay, so at open, coming into open yesterday, there were 2 names that were on the top of my list: Meta, CRM. Now, I wish I would have taken Meta, because Meta went like absolutely parabolic. It went like 600% yesterday on the move that we saw, but I didn't take it. I took CRM, but we still were able to get over 130% on CRM, so it was a great trade. So this is the trade here that was probably the best trade yesterday that I took. and it was an opening drive play. The other thing you'll notice too is that like I do take a lot of opening drive plays, but this was one, again, that was a price consolidation on the daily time frame. And sorry, I'm moving all around here, but price consolidation on daily time frame, right? We've got the wedge, consolidate, get tighter, break. When it breaks, we should see a nice move, right? Now, we only saw a 1% move intraday from the close of the day prior, but from low to high, right, we saw 210 to 214.62. So it was a $4.62 move, which is huge on a stock that's, trading at, $210 a share. So on the 5-minute, I had a few questions. How did I take this trade? How did I know to get into it? What happened? Well, this is exactly what happened, right? So the actionable setup for me, I knew that this purple line was going to be huge. If we got over this line, this was going to be that range expansion type play that I wanted to see. And I mentioned that 211 was going to be the key for me. Right, over 211 was what I wanted to see. And you can see here, this 211 spot, this is the kind of spot here. This is why I kind of had 211. Let me just put it on the chart here where I had it. About 211, right? So what did I see here on this chart? Well, number one, we opened up. We tried to flush down. Volume and buyers stepped in, so we got a big wick. They pushed us up over 210.30, right? So they pushed us over 210.30. They pushed us over 211. That was my trigger. And at the same time, what was I seeing on QQQ? Let's go to QQQ's 5-minute. Let me show you what I was seeing on QQQ. Here we go. QQQ's 5-minute, right? Here's QQQ's 5-minute yesterday, which means, tech, all of tech, was moving very, very well at open, right? The first 3 5-minute candles absolutely printed. We didn't get a red 5-minute candle until 10 o'clock yesterday, 30 minutes into the day. Now, I had a key level at 368.63. The low on this candle is 368.66. So we did push all the way down to this level. Buyer stepped in. We got a big bullish engulfing candle. Next candle, bullish candle as well. The very next candle, another bullish engulfing candle before we got a blow off top candle where we got a little bit of a pullback here before we, took another long up here to 370.201. So the thesis behind the CRM trade was that tech was moving very, very well at open. It was also bouncing off of a key level that I had, right? Which means that it was accretive for the markets to continue up, or any tech name that was trading very well, like CRM was. So tech is moving up. CRM buyers are stepping in. They pushed us back over this daily trend line, and we broke out over 211. This was a natural setup for me to take. So we took the what calls did we take? 215 calls. We got those at $65 a contract, and they went all the way. I think it was like 140% max that they went to. But this is how I took this trade. This is the actual setup for me to take the trade. I had confirmation from QQQ. We were over the daily trend line. We were over the key level, that 211 spot that I was looking at. I was looking to trade up to that next spot at 212, and if we got over 212, then I was looking for a move up to 214, right? If you look back in the trade idea floor, that's what you'll see, right? Over 212, I think we get 214. Well, what happened? We broke over 212. We made our way up, 214. We fell back down, and again, prior resistance, we break through it, we push up, we pull back, now it's support, and then we push up for a new high of day again, okay? So this is just another example of prior resistance, push through it, flip it to support, go up and get that next level at 214.60, 215, whatever level you want to call it. So this is another example of actionable setups and things that I kind of look for, and this is how I trade those daily timeframes. Because one of the biggest things I get asked about a lot is, hey, I see the daily timeframe setups, but how do I trade them, right? How can I look at a daily timeframe and trade the 5-minute chart? Hopefully this example helps you guys see like how I do that and what I'm looking for in those setups. Now, another example that we can talk about here is NVIDIA. Now, these are setups that I think we can play in the next few days. Okay, here's the hourly setup on NVIDIA. Now, what do we have here? Well, we definitely have price consolidation, right? Because we went from 375 all the way to 440, right? So we made a massive move, a $65 move here from June 8th to June 20th. This is the hourly time frame, right? Massive move up, pull all the way back down to 402, push all the way back up here to 431, pull all the way back down to 415, and this is kind of where we're hanging out at, right? So what am I looking for? Well, I don't know where we're going to go here, but certainly what I'm looking for is a move back up here, right, to this spot, somewhere up in here, 437 area. Or I'm looking for a move back down here, right? So these are my targets that I'd be looking at. And let's make these yellow so you guys can see. Okay, so those are my targets. And obviously, you know, if we lose this spot, this is resistance, push up through it, support, right? So I think naturally if we sell out of this wedge, and let's make this wedge a little bit thicker line here. Naturally, if we sell out of this wedge, I'd look for us to come back down to this 402 spot, right? Same spot we came down to. We crashed down through this on June 26th, crashed through the 415, 411, came all the way down to 402. If we crash down, do the same thing. 402.55 is the next spot I'm looking for. If we lose 402.55, then we can talk about, you know, that move down to 394. Potentially all the way down here to 380 if that happens, right? I'm not saying that happens, but that's, you know, it's kind of what I'd be looking at. So this is an actionable setup for me. How would I trade it? What would I look for? This is where you have to use larger time frames, and you have to monitor these larger time frames as you're looking at the 5-minute chart, right? So tomorrow when we come into the day and we're looking at the 5-minute chart, this is something that I'll be looking at, right? Because I know, and again, let's color these that purple color that we like to use. So we know these are our levels we're looking to break. You know, we know coming into the day that, like, hey, if we lose this potential, you know, 416 to 417 area, right? Like right here, this could be a very easy short down first price target. And this is the nice thing about having these levels, which is why I always tell you guys key levels are so important to have. If we lose our trend line, our first target is going to be 415. Right? Then our next target probably could be yesterday's low or today's low, 413.47, and then below that we're looking for 411.14, and then below that, that's our final target at 402.55. Now inversely, if we open up tomorrow and we're over 422.60, if we pop up, we'd look for that to hold that level and then trade a nice trend up, right? And if we're trading a trend up, we can enter this trend, and our scale is probably going to be up here in this area, right? Like we're going to be looking for potentially this area here, 428. This is the, you know, key spot from July 5th, yesterday. 428 as a first target, and then the next target I'd be looking for is to hit this 1 hour trend line to scale some more. But if we break out over this, right, then I'm looking for that move up into 432 and then 437. So this is an actual setup for me on NVIDIA. I know my risk. I know what I'm looking for, and that's how I would trade it. And hopefully that helps you guys as you're looking at larger time frames. Here's an hourly chart without the extended hours on. Okay, perfect. But how do I trade this on a 5-minute, you know, chart? How do I trade this during the day, knowing that it's an hourly chart? How do I trade, you know, tomorrow as a 0 day, or how do I trade next week's contracts on it? Right. The key answer here is that you just have to be patient. You need to wait for these levels to break. Don't try and front run it, because if you try and front run it, that's where you'll get ran over. An example of potentially front running something is what we did today on Meta, or what we didn't do on Meta on the 5-minute. Okay. One of the things I told the room I was looking at today on Meta was right here, right? Now we swung Meta. We took this swing about 30% up here at the highs here. We were in 310 calls for next week. We got out of those. Green trade for us, but we got out of that swing. It pulled back down, and when we started to push back up, I was like, hey, Meta, this was before the Meta lawsuit, or Twitter lawsuit to Meta came out. I was like, hey, if CNBC starts talking about the new Threads app, like this could be accretive for Meta to go back up and tag 300, right? But what I was looking for was a new high of day on Meta. I was looking for a new high of day, and then I was going to look for a trend, and I was going to trade the trend back up to 300, potentially over 300 to get to 305. We never got it, but if I would have front ran this before we got the high of day and before we got that trend, I would have bought calls up here near the high of day, and then we obviously fell back down. I would have gotten stopped out, and option sellers would have loved that, right? And that's exactly what I didn't want to do, because I said what we could do is just make we could make a double top here, right? Reject here, sell right back down to where we were before, and that's exactly what we did, right? So that's why you don't want to front run. So when I go back to NVIDIA, that's why I'm giving you guys caution, like please don't front run. It's just not worth it, you know, just wait for these things to happen. Wait for 422.60, wait for that 416 to 417 area here. And when we come down here, make sure you guys are scaling some at 415, right? If you want to be a professional risk manager, this is where I would look to scale some. The next target is going to be low of day from today, 413.47, and then the target down is 411, and then 402, etc. Right? So just make sure that, you know, if you guys have key levels, use those as your price targets, upside or downside, you know, when you're trading. So that's the NVIDIA actionable setup, the one thing that I'll be looking for, and hopefully that helps you guys understand what I'm looking for as I'm looking at the 5-minute chart. The other one that I wanted to talk to you guys about is Starbucks. It's another great chart. Here we go. Okay, 95.87, potentially 96. You guys can see that this is a huge spot on Starbucks. I know there's a couple other people in the space kind of watching this, looking at this name, but this is really the spot that I think, you know, could be a really nice move if we get under today's low, which is at 95.91, right? And I've got 95.87 as this key level. So if we break down through this, I think we could make, you know, a pretty nice move down in here to kind of like that 90, 94 to maybe 90, 93 spot. You know, on Starbucks, we could potentially fall. I mean, we could potentially fall all the way down here. Let's go ahead and mark this level on the daily, right? Rejection. 91.28. We could fall all the way down here to 91.28 or somewhere in here, like the 92.36 area, right? But this is going to be an actionable setup for me. And again, how do we trade it? What do we look for? Well, on the 5-minute chart, right? We're simply just looking for a breakdown of this level to trade all the way back down, you know, to about 93. This one's a pretty easy one, fairly straightforward. When you have horizontal lines, resistances, things like that. Now, one of the things that I like to do is actually put an alert. So I'll show you guys what I do. I go to Webull, I right click, I create an alert, right? And then I set for price below, and I want price below, let's just say 96. If it drops below 96, let me know. So then I'll know when price drops below 96, I'll get an alert on my phone. It'll tell me to come over here and take a look at Starbucks. And then from there, I'll be on the 5-minute, and obviously we'll be under 96. Then I'll be looking at this level here like a hawk at that 95.87 to see if we break this area right here. Because if we break it, I think we make that nice move back down into the 91.20 area on Starbucks. So that's an actionable setup. That's an example of an actionable setup that is coming, that could potentially come tomorrow, and it could go crazy for Lotto Friday, to be honest. This could be a massive move for us tomorrow. So that's what I'll be watching. One of my top watches tomorrow. So with that being said, those are my actionable setups. That's kind of how I look at things from a daily time frame perspective. We talked about some setups that happened, what they look like. Then we also talked about 2 setups that are happening now. We looked at an hourly setup on NVIDIA. We looked at a daily setup here on Starbucks. And I'm hoping that, you know, showing you guys these patterns, showing you what these look like, you're going to be able to find some of these patterns on your own and create trade theses and trade ideas and basically build your own Sunday scan every single Sunday when you look at these names and look at these setups. With that being said, what I'd like to do now is open it up to some questions because I know you guys probably will have some questions. So let's see if you guys have any questions on these actionable setups, how to find them, what to look for. Or do you have any charts that you think are considered actionable setups? Don't be shy to let me know of them, and we will pull them up here in front of the stream, and we'll see if they're actionable in my eyes. And if we don't have any, comments, I'll give you guys some time back in your evening. But you know, these classes are really meant for you guys. So you have me for the allotted time, and so if you guys have questions, comments, we can look at them. Rivian, yeah, we can look at that one, Shindy. I know Rivian's already did this thing on the daily time frame. I think 6% today. But yeah, this is an interesting setup here on Rivian. All right, this one, we were in this consolidation pattern. We dropped out of it, right? We fell down, and then we broke out over this key level here, which was an interesting move on Rivian. This level probably, I don't know if this is the right level or if this really is the right level here. This might be the better level, kind of like that $16 level. We held it, we rejected, we couldn't get up over it, couldn't get up over it, couldn't get up over it, couldn't get up over it. Couldn't get up over it, got up over it, held it, and pushed all the way up to that next level very quickly. When you have a short float, though, it's very easy to do on Rivian. But Rivian looks very, very healthy for more upside here. Let's just take a second to look at what Rivian looks like. I'll tell you guys what I see, right? I like to do things based on more candle bodies than I do like the wicks. The reason I put this here is because we've got this daily candle here on February 15th. And we got some wicks that kind of broke out over it, right? So we sold off from 30 all the way down here to this 2112 level. We fell under 2112. We fell down to the next level at 1982, lost 1982, and subsequently fell all the way down to this next level at 60.
As you age, your world is getting smaller.
Hang on a second.
You lose
YouTube ad. Sorry about that. So, sorry, that kind of scared me. I was like, what is that? So basically here on Rivian, right, what I was saying, right, 30 fell down all the way to 2112, fell all the way down to 1982, and then fell all the way down here to 1603, and then we pushed back up, right back up into 1982, right back up here into 2112, and we haven't gotten a daily candle close over 2112 yet. But today, we did. Right? So now, what I'm looking for on Rivian is potentially a move back up to 25.48. Okay? Now, the reason I say 25.48, the reason I'm looking at this area here, 25.40, whatever that is, I simply am just looking left on the chart. Right? There's no rocket science here. I'm just looking left and saying, okay, last time, outside of this time, right, last time we fell down here, did we catch anything in the middle of these two levels? And we did, right? Back in June, July, like this time last year, actually, we were trading right at 25.40. So for me, what I'm looking for is a move back to about 25.60 is probably the spot here, right? Anywhere from 25.20 to 25.50, somewhere in there, right? I don't know what the exact level is. But this is the spot that I'd be looking for. Now, the reason I like that spot is because if you look here, when we fell down from 30, what did we do, right? We fell down and we touched this level at 25.35 or 25.40, whatever, 25.50, whatever spot you want it to be, right? Somewhere around this mid-25 area. Fell down to it. We pushed back up. We came underneath of it. We got a candle close underneath of that mid-25 area. Then we retested that same area that next day on February 14th, and then we fell down from that, just straight down, all the way down to, 1758. So this is a huge spot. Sellers step in at this spot here when buyers tried to last time. So now that we're over this spot, see if you guys can see everything here. Now that we're over this level here, right, with this daily candle close, and even in the after hours, we pushed up to 22.11. So we're really kind of up here in the after hours. I really do think this next spot on Rivian is probably going to be 25.45. Now, what I'd be looking for on Rivian, since we don't really have a daily level that we're breaking out of here, I'd really be interested in looking at finding a trend on Rivian and just playing that trend up to 25.45, right? Now, $4 move from here to there, probably that's like a 20% move, so that's probably going to take a few days to get there unless we have some crazy, crazy day. But, we have seen days in the past where Rivian's up 17% here, right, on July 3rd. Today it was up 6%, right? So if we have a few 6% days, we could see some nice momentum up to that 25, 45 level. But yeah, this is a name that you could look to take 2-week out contracts, $25 calls or, $23 calls and kind of play that move up to 25, 45. So good eye, Shindy. Let's look at UNP. Some of these I'm not familiar with. Union Pacific. Is this like... let me see some. Union Pacific. Okay, this is what I thought it was. All right, so Union Pacific. Let's take a look. What do we got here? This is a name that we had a trend line on the weekly, I think, is where this came from. Yeah, and the weekly's looking very good. I think we talked about this a few Sunday scans ago. We mentioned this name a few times, I think. But what do we have here, right? We have consolidation happening. We've got flat support, and we've got consolidation happening on a downtrend. And what happened when we broke out over this downtrend, we've kind of started to flag here. This potentially could be a flag on the weekly. On the daily time frame, we're kind of, this could be a double top here, right? So it's one thing I'd be worried about here with Union Pacific is like, is this a double top? One top, two top, right? So for me now, what I'd be looking for on Union Pacific, I'd be looking for a move over 206.42 for a move up to 213.15. This would be my setup on UNP if I was trading this. I don't know how this name trades, but 206.42 would be my spot. I'd probably set a price trigger alert at like 205.60, somewhere in here. That way, in case we got that move up, we got that move over, then we can trade this from 206.42 up to 213. If you swing it, right, we get up over 213, that next level up is probably going to be about 219 to potentially 230. So that's what I'll be looking at on UNP. AMD. Let's look at AMD. Someone said who's actually trading airlines. I know a lot of people that trade airlines. They were probably the easiest names to trade in June. We traded them. I've added some to my Roth in June. They were great names to trade actually in June. A lot of them were up 30%. So if I can find a 30% move on a name, I'm definitely going to try and trade that. AMD. This is what I'm watching here on AMD. Like, I think this is the actionable setup here. Basically, I'm not going to turn these levels on because it's way too many levels. I don't like how many levels I have on AMD. They're good intraday, but I don't want to keep them on here with you guys. So basically, what I'd be looking at here on AMD, Jordan, is if we lose 108, 108 is that level to lose. Losing 108 probably sends us back down to 103. It's probably a $5 downside move here. But this is also an area that, like, again, prior resistance, is it now flipping to support, right? Is this support now? We resisted that area here, using it as support now, potentially making our way back up. But you can see we've got this curl, right? And the one thing that I always say is, like, in the downtrends, when you have a downtrend of a name, I don't care if it's on a 5-minute, on a daily, on a weekly, whatever it is, but if you have a downtrend, right, after a big move up and then a pullback, look at the volume, right? Look at this volume down here. So we move up, we move up, we move up, we move up, and then we start to pull back. What happens when we pull back? Less volume, less volume, less volume, less volume, right? So the volume just kept dying. The volume's linearity is down. That's a down slope, which means that the sellers aren't really as in control as what we anticipate them being. If we take, for example, Charles Schwab, right? Let's look at this one, for example, on the daily time frame, right? Look at the daily time frame here when we're in a downtrend. Increase, right? Increase volume, right? What does that mean? Sellers are really in control here when Charles Schwab sold off, right? All the way from 72 down to 44 in 3 days. Sellers were in massive control. But when we look at AMD on this pullback, the sellers aren't really as in control as what people maybe think they are. And that's, it's very important to notice that. And that this is prior resistance, and now it's flipped to support at that 108 area. So that's what I'd be looking at here on AMD, risking 108 to go long. If we lose 108, be looking for a move back down here to about the 101 area, right? And you can see why. Rejected here, rejected on this candle, and held this candle here and then pushed up. Let's look at Wells Fargo. I'll go through these guys for you guys. Wells Fargo, daily time frame. What are you seeing on that one, Witchell? Like, what are you seeing on Wells Fargo? Because I'm curious as to what you see, right? Like, for me, what I saw on Wells Fargo was I saw this consolidation pattern. Okay, I saw this. I saw horizontal resistance, rejection, rejection, and then I saw us consolidating on the trend line, right? We push up, we push up, we push up. When we push up, we reject. When we fall and fail this area, 41, we fall all the way back down to 40. Now, not a big move. Wells Fargo is not a high beta name, so it's not going to move that much intraday. We're not going to see very big moves on this name. Shouldn't expect to see big moves on this name. But, you know, I do think that if Wells Fargo can get back up over this level, it's got a chance to really make a move back to, you know, about $48, $47 a share, somewhere up in here, right? If we put like a, you know, zone, that's kind of what I'd be looking for, right? To move into that 47.40 up to 48.11 area. Why is that? Well, because every time we've fallen below 43.11 and we push back up through it, we move right back up to that area, right? Fall down, push up, go to that area. Fall down, push up, go to that area. Fall down, push up. We never pushed up through that 43.11 area, right? Not yet. So we rejected this area, fell back down. We get on a trend line, we push up, we reject, fall down, push up. We're over this level now, right? And assuming if Wells Fargo can get back up over that level on the daily, we've seen this before, we get some consolidation at these areas, right? We push up, we fall back down, we push up, and we finally make that move. Okay, we push up, we fall back down, and then we push up, and then we finally get that move. Could be setting up the exact same pattern here. Now, again, stock market isn't, you know, it's not a guarantee. It's all probabilities. But the last two times we've done this, this is what happens, right? We fall down, push up, go to that spot, fall down, push up, go to that spot, fall down, push up, go to that spot potentially. So that's what I'd be looking for on Wells Fargo. Not the best setup, but you know, if you wanted to bet on some leaps here, on some potential $50 calls a couple weeks out, $40, you know, $5 calls, this could be a really nice trade back up here for sure on Wells Fargo. MasterCard and Visa. Yeah, let's look at MA first. Ooh, we're flirting with all-time highs here on MasterCard. Interesting. Let's look at the weekly. Yeah, this looks really, really good on the weekly. Now, we need to see how this weekly is going to close. But this past week, June 30th, right, that was the first week that we closed over 390.65. We rejected it once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, push up. And again, just like we saw on the 5-minute, on the 15, on the hourly, on the daily, prior resistance, when you break out over it, typically flips to support, right? Prior resistance, breakout, support, go. So MasterCard, I am looking for all-time highs. I'd be looking for that. If not tomorrow, into next week, I think we get some all-time highs on MA. Visa was another one you guys wanted to look at. Let's look at this one, see what we got. Visa on the weekly. Again, really, really good weekly candle. Why is that line there? Is that daily? Yeah, we had a daily consolidation. That's an interesting one here. This is a real quick on the daily, guys, just so you guys know, this is a little tidbit and one thing I like to use. When we have a consolidation pattern and we open up below a key spot, like here, we had a 3% down day. We sold off $6. Why did we sell off? Well, probably because we consolidated here for so long. When we gapped down, we opened up, right? This price opened at 229.27. And the low was 223.66. Now, I don't know what this looked like on the, you know, like daily, how we did it. What day is this? Let's just go. I'm curious now. 523. Let's look at the 15-minute, and let's go back to 523. Here we go. Oh, yeah, perfect, right? Like, here's the 15-minute chart on that day that we gapped down. So we fell underneath of our consolidation pattern, right? We opened up right here, and it was just instant sell, right? I mean, we opened at 229.27, and we hit a low by 12 o'clock that day. Or, I mean, even if you look at 10:45, we hit a low of 225, and then at 12 o'clock we were at 223. So just massive, massive moves. So that's a little tidbit that you guys can use. When we open up under a consolidation pattern, you typically could just play the momentum on that day's candle, which is what we saw there. That's something that not a lot of people talk about on FinTwit, and I don't know why, but that's something that I've found that really, really works. We did it on PayPal one day and took PayPal like 220%. It was on a Thursday, and something like that happened, and we absolutely smashed it. So when you gap up or down out of consolidation, look to just ride the wave on the momentum there. But anyway, back to MasterCard on the daily, on the weekly. Let's look at weekly. Again, really good weekly chart here because this level was prior resistance on the weekly. You know, resistance area, resistance, you know, basically April all the way through, you know, through the end of May, we resisted this area, and then we finally broke up through it on the June 30th candle, came back down, we retested it, and again, just like we talked about on MasterCard, prior resistance, break through it, come back down, grab it as support, and then you launch from there. So ideally, I'm looking for Visa to go up and tap, you know, 249. So July could be the month for financial services. We'll see what we get there. Let's look at DXCM daily. Max, let's look at DXCM. I don't know what this name is. Don't know anything about these options. I don't know how they trade, but we can talk about this from a technical perspective too. All right, so immediately I already see the technical pattern here, the technical setup. Do you want to try and give it a go, Max Carlson? See if you want to give it a shot at what you think the technical setup here is on DXCM. I appreciate the love, Keith. I'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and do it, Max. And you tell me if this is what you're looking at too. So DXCM. It's a very similar pattern to what we've seen recently. All right, so let's go ahead and put the trend line in first because that's the most obvious one. Okay, here's the trend on the weekly, and then we have horizontal resistance. Right, this is what I would be looking at on DXCM. Very, very similar pattern to what we've seen on some of those other names that did this, right? I mean, we saw the exact same pattern on Delta. Okay, it's on the daily time frame, but again, right? Horizontal pattern, trending up on that trend line, and then we break out over it and we go up there, right? So DXCM, very, very similar here on the weekly time frame, right? I don't know that I see a cup and handle on the weekly, Witchell. It could be, though, right? Like, this could be the cup, and then this could be the handle. To be honest, I'm not a big cup and handle trader, so I'm not your guy when it comes to cup and handles. You know, my cup and handle usually is filled with coffee. I'm not a cup and handle technical trader, but this is kind of what I see. This is the pattern that I see on DXCM, and I actually really, really like this chart, Max. So I appreciate you showing this to me. Again, let's make these purple because we know that this is a technical pattern. We know that that's a pattern here. So now if we drop into the daily time frame, let's see what the daily looks like. Sometimes the daily gives you a little bit more indication of a potential move. And I mean, like on the daily, you could even go as far as like saying like, you know, here we're getting this type of move on the daily. You know, we could break it down into smaller patterns. Right, and so we say the weekly looks very good, but even on the daily, we're starting to curl now, right? Like we got this trend line on the daily. We can make this purple as well. right? We can make these bigger. Help if I use the right color purple. Right, so the weekly is trending, the weekly is wedging, it's consolidating, the daily is consolidating, right? The 4 hour potential consolidation pattern as well. I mean, you can see how it's falling out of it a little bit, but you guys get the point there, right? Like you can continue to drill down into this and use this as a barometer to potentially play a daily breakout up to that weekly pivot at 133.18 and then over that weekly spot at 133.18. I'd be looking for that move up on the weekly probably to about this spot here. Right, on the weekly time frame. That's kind of what I'd be looking at. 143.64. Inverse head and shoulders. I'm not really seeing it. If anything, I'm seeing maybe a head and shoulders play out, but this looks like it's a little too high, right? Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. If we break this trend line, I mean, this thing could come all the way back down here to about 78. But that's what I'd be looking at there. I think this is a very clean weekly setup. And the daily setup, obviously, you got a nice consolidation pattern here. Walmart. Martha, let's take a look at Walmart. Fade the all-time high. Right? Put this level on here. Wherever we want to put it at. Up there, maybe. I don't know. All-time high area. But it's rejecting all-time high. Made a new all-time high, falling back down. Last time we fell down from this area, we fell all the way back down here. 147. We got this rogue wick here, fell all the way back down underneath 147. So if we sell from here, right, like Walmart had a really good string in June. First 2 weeks in June, cooled off, held value, pushed back up. So what I'd be looking for naturally is if we sell, I'd be looking for a move back to 153, right? Because this was prior resistance. And again, you're going to hear this theme a lot, but prior resistance here, got up over it, held it as support, pushed up to the next key level, came back down, held it as support, pushed up to the next key level, came back down, hold it as support, or do we lose it and do we fall back down to 147? That's what I'd be looking for on Walmart. Twilio, Jay. We talked about Twilio for a little bit in the room. Twilio looks good, right? This is I missed this daily candle today, actually. Dang, that would have been nice to play that. Why didn't you guys tell me that? You guys know I've been watching Twilio. No, I'm just kidding. Twilio, but this is great, right? This is another example of horizontal price consolidation. We saw it on JetBlue. We saw it on PayPal. This is a name that I think probably makes this move back down to, around the 57 area if we sell. If this is a false breakout, we catch a bid and we push back up into it. I'm looking for a breakout over 70 on Twilio for that move back up into that, 75 area. For those of you who don't believe this pattern works, all you got to do is look at JetBlue, right? Horizontal consolidation, range expansion. You look at Jets, which we talked about earlier. Horizontal consolidation, breakout, fall all the way down. Horizontal consolidation, breakout, go all the way up. PayPal's another one. Horizontal consolidation. This is the one that we played, guys, that went 200% this day. And it was on a Tuesday, I think. It had a 12% day down, and we played this, right? It was horizontal consolidation, gap down, and as soon as that candle opened, we rode puts all the way down through these levels, right? 67.63, then 66.37. And if we would have swung them the next day, I think they went 900%. But this is an example of horizontal consolidation playing out. So when we go to Twilio, like Jay wanted to look at, this is the exact same pattern. Horizontal consolidation. We've been stuck in this pattern since May 31st. So the entire month of June, we have been stuck in consolidation on Twilio, and we just broke it. So looking for this move down now on Twilio. JP, is it always the 5 minute that you're monitoring for the entry? Do you check the 2, 10, and 15? I do check those. I would say that the 2 and the 5 are probably what I'm entering most on. I'm using the 15 minutes to kind of give me an idea of where we could go to once that price opens or once we once we're in the trade. Really what I like to say is the smaller time frames help you with your entry. The larger time frames help you figure out where you're going to move to as the play starts to work out. Would you consider Microsoft with the daily breakout? Hourly candles wicked off of my level to a tick. 30 337.41 to 342.50. Break out of its weekly range. Microsoft. I think I got a lot of levels here on Microsoft too, so bear with me. Yeah, Microsoft looks really healthy on the weekly time frame. And we've looked healthy ever since we broke out of this weekly downtrend. One thing that I just noticed on Microsoft though that I really like, and again, guys, here's horizontal consolidation, right? Consolidate, 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 break out, come back, test this zone, and then pop back up. One thing though that really stands out to me on this Microsoft chart, now that you're showing me meow meow, sounds weird to say that name by the way, but one thing that is really standing out to me is this trend line. That was a gap up, so I'm not even going to call that candle out. Wow, this could be an explosive move if tech really moves. You guys see what I'm seeing, right? Similar to, we've got this long uptrend. We've got one candle on the outlier of the top of the downtrend, right? What this reminds me of is actually an inverse southwest, right? We've got this long downtrend, a little bit of an uptrend with one outlier candle, but then it broke and then went up. You guys see how that looks very similar, right? Long uptrend, one outlier of a candle on that downtrend, and then it broke and potentially going, do we break down and fall all the way down? I don't know, but this is a very similar consolidation pattern here that we saw just riding this trend line. If this trend line breaks, I would expect Microsoft probably to fall back down into that 323 and then maybe 315 area, with the potential for a big move all the way back down to this 294 spot if we really do sell. But Microsoft looks really good. The daily looks really good there. UVXY, which let's take a look. Not one that I trade often. Actually, I don't think I've ever traded UVXY, to be honest. Blow off top candle. Kind of a gravestone doji. We're not in an uptrend, so this would signal a bearish sign if we were in an uptrend and we saw this, but we're in a downtrend and we see this. So this is a gravestone doji, so we could actually see continued upside from here, which would signal that the markets are going to continue down. But yeah, I don't. To be honest, sorry. To be honest here, like I don't know how to even look at UVXY from the larger time frame perspective because we're so under kind of like where we were. I mean, I guess like what I would say is like if we can get over here, like over to 23 on UVXY, naturally I think we make that move back up to about 25, and then over 25 we get 26, and then probably this move all the way back up into that 28.15 area. I don't know that we're going to make that move though. Like this is a big spot. 23 is a big spot. If you're looking at UVXY, this is the spot I'd be interested in, is right here. Getting over this spot. Prior support, resistance, 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 resistance today. Do we get up over it or not? 23 is the key on UVXY. Robert says, if we push or pull through a level of volume, do you forego waiting for it to hold? I noticed many of times at open, you really don't seem to be waiting before entering. Yeah, so like we talked about this, Robert, on CRM. If you were on earlier, if you weren't, you could go back and watch this on the live stream. But CRM was one that I didn't really wait for that. I waited for the level. I didn't wait for the candle close. I just waited for the level to break. But because I had the thesis of QQQ going with it, I got in and I got in on that breakout and just played the breakout. So if I have multiple signs of confirmation on those breakout plays, I'll get in before the 5-minute candle closes, but I'd say majority of the time I am waiting for that 5-minute candle to close unless it's like an opening drive play where we're seeing a lot of momentum stepping in. LC Universal, PayPal. That's a nasty 4-hour candle on PayPal. Oh, it's just a ghost wick or something. PayPal was a nice move though. Let's look at the daily. What do we got on PayPal? This is a name that I think actually probably trades back to 90 to 100 plus pretty soon, if you want my honest opinion. This is what I'm looking at on PayPal. Yeah, probably put a level here. All right, so that's what I'd be looking at. LC Universal is we're trending on PayPal on this trend line. If we break this trend line, and if we, let's say we open up tomorrow and we lose 66.37, we're at 66.09 here. If we lose 66.37, if we reject it, we've got a lot of room down on the daily time frame. All the way down, potentially down here to 65.30, we could make a pit stop, and then 64, and then below that, I'd really be looking for that 63 spot. So all eyes for me will be on 66.37 on PayPal. Amazon and then McDonald's. For me, the key on Amazon is really going to be getting over 132. We haven't gotten over 132. Then I got 133.48. Amazon, though, has been pretty. Look at this weekly time frame, but you can see the volume starting to die down on the weekly. So this could be a potential short-term top here around this 133 spot. If we get over 133, then I'd be looking for a move up into the 140s, 150s on Amazon. McDonald's, I don't trade McDonald's, but let's take a look. What do we got? Dang, McDonald's. Is that all-time highs? Go to the monthly. Yeah, dang. What a move on McDonald's. All you had to do is buy it during COVID. Could have picked it up for $115 a share in your retirement accounts and be up over 100% right now on it. But in all honesty, let's take a look at it and see what we got. Okay, so the 4-hour, we are seeing a little bit of trend. And I would probably say that this is a horizontal pattern as well. Okay, now the reason for that, we have one 4-hour candle that's an outlier where we got an all-time high. That's why I'm okay with that being an outlier. This is what I'd be concerned with, right? I'd be looking at this here and saying, okay, what are we going to get here, right? Are we going to get a breakout and go get all-time high again and enter into price discovery mode? Or are we going to reject this area, fall back down here to about 287, and then fall back down here to about 280? That's what I'd be looking for on McDonald's. What do you think about Meta filling its gap back down in January of 22? Meta certainly could. Certainly could. January of 22. Sorry, this daily, or these levels are a little crazy. January of 22. You're talking about back here, right? Yeah. No, certainly could fill that gap back down. Obviously that's the spot. I just don't know if Meta's going to fall all the way from 300 yesterday down to 246. If it does, I'd be looking to get long in Meta. Meta though is like, look at these monthly candles. You talk about perfect games in baseball, no hitters, things like that. Meta's having a no-hitter, a perfect game so far in 2023. Not a red month yet. July could be it, right, with this news on the threads and the lawsuit with Twitter. Or, it could be people could buy it up. People might love this. Who knows? But certainly could. We could fill that gap. It just depends. I think the thing to look for here is, like, do we lose really to, I think it's like the level here that I'd be looking at is like 288. If you look at the daily time frame, like, this is the spot here that, like, it took us a while to get up over, and I think I have this. Yeah. Sorry for all these lines. Really, this is what I'd be looking at here. Like, these are my key levels that I'm looking at on the daily time frame. We are right now at 289, so we're under this 290 spot. And this was prior resistance, breakout over. We need to see if 290 is going to hold tomorrow's support on the daily time frame. If it doesn't hold, then I think we make this move back down to 278 area for sure. Tomorrow's daily candle will tell us, I think, what's going to happen next week with Meta. Roblox looks very good. It's wedging as well. Keith, I don't cover NQ because I can't see that on Webull. Yes, sir. Yeah, no, LC Universal. I think Meta's still good long term. Palantir, LC Universal talked about that. I actually talked about this as well. I think in the when did I talk about this? Was it today? Yesterday? Anyway, Palantir does look pretty good. I think this looks good here. If we get this move over 1517 or 1571, there's been a lot of buyers in the tape here on Palantir. So if we get up over this 1571 spot, I think we make that move up into 17. If we get up over 17, then I think LC Universal is right. We're going to see 20 on Palantir relatively soon. I still don't know what Palantir does. I know they make a ton of money off government contracts, but no one's been able to tell me exactly what they do. Even people that work at Palantir haven't been able to tell me what they do. So I'm skeptically optimistic about Palantir and moving, but you guys can see what Palantir's done in the past. I mean, this was a stock that was trading, during the COVID era, down here at $9 a share and went all the way to $45 a share. So it was a 500% move. But on the weekly time frame, I think if we can get up over this spot, we've got a chance. But we've kind of danced around this spot so far. We'll look at Roblox and shop real quick, and then we'll call it an evening. How about that? Roblox weekly, looking really good. And again, sorry for all the lines, but I'm hoping what you guys see is, let me take this off. We don't need these guys. You're seeing some consolidation, right? Consolidation on the weekly leads to a breakout or breakdown. I don't know which way we're going to go, but obviously upside targets are going to be about 46 from here. We're at 40. Downside targets are going to be about 43. Either way, we're looking at potentially like a 15% move on the stock, up or down, depending on where we break. But right now, we're just trading sideways on the weekly. Daily time frame, again, we're in this kind of like consolidation pattern here on the daily candle closes. We're stuck on daily candle closes, basically between right here at 37.78 and 42.38, right? So we're basically stuck in $5 worth of range right here on Roblox. So when this thing breaks, it's going to be a pretty nice mover. And again, on the daily time frame, we could look at this a couple different ways, right? Like if we take this off, we could look at a trend line. So we could make a trend line here, and then we could have a horizontal line here, right? So the daily could be trend line horizontal. The weekly obviously is going to be a wedge pattern that you see here, it's just very hard to see here. But yeah, Roblox looks good. It's coiled. It's still coiling. It's going to make a move pretty soon, in my opinion. Shop. Let's take a look at shop, and then that'll be our last one for the evening. Weekly time frame, just catching a lot of resistance here at the 65 level. Daily time frame. Oops. Not my favorite daily setup. This would have been the nice daily setup here, I think, on shop. right? This would have been the setup I would have looked to have traded had I been watching Shop. That's what I would have watched, right? We had this wedge play out before, and it broke out. It made a really nice move, and here's what I would have been looking for here, right? 1 tap, 2 tap, 3 tap, 4 tap, 5 tap, open up, and Shop's now. This is another one, right? Shop's down 4% today. So if we would have seen this goes to show you that if you have a consolidation pattern, you open up below it, you can see a pretty nice move underneath of it, right? So if we go to the 5 minute today, let's see what Shop did. Yeah. I mean, this is absolutely money when you find setups like this, right? Key level 6307. I'm really sad that I missed Shop because this would have been a really nice trade here. But another consolidation pattern that gapped down below, underneath of a key level, right? Seller stepped in a massive way. Now this one would have maybe caught me a little off guard because QQQ was moving really well today. But on that 5 minute candle close, you know, I'm sure if we look at let me go down to a smaller time frame too. Because on the 2 minute chart, you can use the 1348 EMAs. Yeah, here we go. Perfect. I mean, this is a great example, right? Under the 13 EMA, we dropped down on this level, and then we just consolidate into the 13 EMA, and then we drop to a new low of day, right? So we go from 62.47 to 61.44, and we do that in about 950 to 956 minutes. We dropped $1. So these contracts probably went over 50% here. So great move here on Shop, but that's just another example, guys, of you know, the using. Oops, sorry, let me turn that off. It's another example of using the premise, right, that a consolidation pattern, if you gap down below consolidation, you're probably going to see a nice move down at open, or if you gap above consolidation, you're probably going to see a nice breakout to start a morning drive play. So that's a good example there, but nice call out on Shop there, Doe. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys. I mean, we spent a little over an hour here. Hopefully you guys found some value in this. If you guys have any more daily setup questions, larger time frame questions, let me know. Anything you want me to take a look at, I'm glad to take a look at for you guys. So just tag me in on the Discord. Let me know what you're looking at. I'd love to help you out. Hopefully this session helped you guys. If it did, if you wouldn't mind just leaving me a comment there in Wall Street, if you got value out of this, I think it was certainly valuable for me because I'm able to see some charts that you guys shared with me that now I'm going to put on my watch list. And hopefully some of the charts that I share with you guys tonight, you're able to put on your watch list as well. But that's all I got for you. Let's have a great day tomorrow on Friday to finish out the week. Really looking forward to it, and appreciate everybody being on tonight. Like I said, if you have any questions, please tag me in anything that you see. And I'm always looking to help you guys out any way that I can. So I'll talk to you guys tomorrow morning. Get some rest, and let's get ready for Lotto Friday tomorrow, and we'll kill it per usual. See you guys tomorrow. Peace out.